Hello, everyone, and welcome back to BenchWire. We got a brand new episode in store for you guys today, and welcome to episode 50. This is the 50th episode of BenchWire. So I did the math, I did the calculations, and yes, last episode was 49, and this one's 50 because I looked at the playlist. It was a little messed up, but this is episode 50, and welcome back. We got a great episode in store for you guys today, and once again, I'm joined by Justin. How we doing, Justin?
Oh, doing great. 50th episode. How could I not be doing great? This is awesome.
Yeah.
What a ride it's been so far, and I can't wait to hit 100 soon. So this is awesome.
Yes. So, and also, I didn't calculate this. I got to see how many episodes you have been on. So we'll calculate that for the next episode. That's something to look forward to. But yeah, let's get right into it. Let's talk about the Brandon Aiyuk situation. So we got an update today from Ian Rappaport, Rap Sheet, and there's an update that the Steelers offered a trade to the San Francisco 49ers. And we don't know what the details are, but supposedly it's a nice little payday for Brandon Aiyuk, and he's going to get the bag, supposedly, with the Steelers. And then Aiyuk and his agent is contemplating whether to accept that deal or stay with the Niners. And I think the Niners are trying to counteroffer what they originally offered, trying to match it closer with the Steelers. I don't think it's going to be exactly what the Steelers offered. But Brandon Aiyuk, right now, the rumor has it, according to Rap Sheet, that he might go to Steelers or he's staying with the Niners. So, Justin, I got a question for you. Where do you think Brandon Aiyuk should go? Should he stay with the Niners or should he head over to Pittsburgh?
It depends on what he wants to do. He seems like he's all about the money at this point. So if he wants to do that, then he should just go to Pittsburgh because they have more cap space to offer him, so they can unload a little bit more money than San Fran can. And to be honest, it wouldn't be a terrible spot. Like Mike Tomlin is consistently a good coach, never had a losing season, so they'll be in the mix for the playoffs, right? And if they hold on to Pickens too. We don't know what the trade details are, like you articulated, but if they hold on to Pickens, because I know there was a report that the Niners were trying to get a receiver back for Aiyuk initially, but if they could hold on to Pickens and him, that's a good 1-2 duo right there, with Aiyuk being the one and George Pickens being, I don't want to call him a two, but he's a borderline one, I would say. He has great potential. The only question mark there, they have an elite defense, but the question mark, which we'll hit on later, is the quarterback room, which we'll talk about the competition. So then again, if they come close in the deal, and with the nine, I feel like the NFC is a little bit easier path to the Super Bowl than AFC. The AFC is kind of more of a gauntlet. So I feel like if he stays, that'd be the best if he wants to win a Super Bowl. If he stays in San Fran and competes, even though the money won't be as much, obviously, with they can't match the offer, along with like the California state taxes are high, so you're taking home less also in that regard. But yeah, what I think he's going to do is he probably will take the Steelers offer. It seems like he's money driven. He wants to get paid what he's earned, what he's due. But honestly, if you want the Super Bowl and you're willing to take a little bit less, then stay with San Fran. So he's in an interesting spot. But I'm interested to see what the Niners counter at and like how this all unfolds. That was going to be interesting.
So what do you want him to do? Do you want him to go to the Niners or go back with the Niners, or do you want him to sign with the Steelers?
Oh, well, I mean, I'll be biased as an Eagles fan. Please go to the Steelers.
Yeah.
Please. I
Okay.
think he adds another layer to that dynamic Kyle Shanahan offense there. So taking him makes it it's not that their offense won't be difficult to defend, but you're adding another elite playmaker or elite route runner. So having him out of the equation makes it a little bit easier to hone in on McCaffrey. You could probably put more in the box to stop him because Debo's a gadget guy, so he gets handoffs too. So it's a little bit easier to counter the run game a little bit. But yeah, they still have weapons. They still have George Kittle. They still have McCaffrey. They'll still be fine. But if I'm San Fran, I'm trying to hold on to him. But I know they're in a tough cap situation.
Yeah. So if I was Brandon Aiyuk, I would rather stay with the Niners than go with the Steelers. It's a place that I'm familiar with, and it's a place that I've been winning with. Really close to winning a Super Bowl last year. And yeah, I think he'll be in a much better situation there. Not all the eyes are on Brandon Aiyuk with that offense. You got McCaffrey, Kittle, Debo. Like, there's a lot of options on that offense, and he'll get the targets because he'll be open because they'll be worried about other guys on that offense. So I feel like for that reason alone, winning and that he's not the number one guy and, they don't want to have to rely on him as much. And that means less injuries and he can stay more healthy and be on the field and take less money to go win a Super Bowl. I feel like that's what I would rather do, win a Super Bowl. Like, say if it's like 5 million or 2 million less, I'd rather stay with the Niners. And it's a place I'm familiar with and don't have to move. And you've been close with that situation and your family knows that where you're living and you don't really have to do much and move out with the San Francisco 49ers. The Steelers, though, it's an intriguing option, because Mike Tomlin, he's a great head coach. He's a coach that has never had a losing season, always above 500, right? It's really interesting because you don't know who's the quarterback, who's going to be starting there. You would be the number one option. You will be getting more money. But the thing is, do you want to walk away from a great situation there with the San Francisco 49ers and go to a Steelers situation where you're the number one receiver and all the eyes are on you and you're supposed to be the best player on that offense because they really don't have much other than Pat Freiermuth and Najee Harris. Like, those are their number one guys there. And George Pickens. I can't forget about George Pickens. So he would be the receiver one because I feel like Pickens, he's good, but he's not a receiver one just yet. I think he's a receiver two. But he would be the number one guy there. He's going to be getting paid to be the number one guy, so he better be the number one guy. But yeah, more eyes will be on him there. He's going to be the number one option. So there's a lot to, weigh with those situations. But if I were Brandon Aiyuk, I would stay with the Niners, try and compete for a Super Bowl. And like you said, the AFC, there's a lot of dogs in that conference. And the Niners, they're usually the top dog, and they're always fighting for that one seed every year. So I'd rather stay with the Niners if I was Brandon Aiyuk and the money's like 5 million less. But yeah, there's also, you got to worry about taxes and all that good stuff. So that's another thing that, Brandon Aiyuk's weighing in his contract situation. But we'll see what happens. And then there's also a report that Brandon Aiyuk might be going to the Browns as well. The Browns were another team that, were like talking with the Niners. We don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know how true that rumor was. And Rap Sheet didn't report anything about that. That was from another source on Twitter. But yeah, we don't know if the Browns would be interested. And, that whole Amari Cooper situation, posting that cryptic tweet on his story of like he wouldn't mind a change of scenery. So that might be an option where you can swap Brandon Aiyuk for Amari Cooper, and that might be a better situation for the Niners because you don't have to pay him for that long. And, they got guys up and coming that you got to pay, like Brock Purdy's got to be the highest paid quarterback, or he wants to be the highest paid quarterback. So there's a lot of things that might actually be better for the Niners situation rather than trading them to the Steelers. So, and they get Amari Cooper out of it. So that would be a win-win if the Niners could do that. Because I would say Amari Cooper is the same caliber type of receiver, great route runners with the Aiyuk and Amari Cooper, but Amari Cooper is older and you don't have to pay him as much because he's getting older. And Aiyuk, he's a younger guy, wants more money. So I think it's be a win-win if that trade can, happen. So if I was the Niners, I would see if that trade is a possibility. But I would do everything in my way to keep Brandon Aiyuk on the San Francisco 49ers and give him the best offer you can and try and make it like within $5 million. I feel like Aiyuk would really weigh his options and would be interested in that if he truly wants to win. But yeah, any final thoughts on that situation?
I do have one actually. I'm glad you flipped it over to me. So let's say Brandon Aiyuk goes to the Steelers. That AFC North is tough. Where let's say it happens. Where would you put the Steelers in that division? I would still have them behind the Ravens. I would probably still have them. I would even have them behind Cleveland, I think, because the defense, if Deshaun Watson could stay healthy, they have a good duo there. They have Njoku. Chubb might be back. Chubb will be back at some point
He will
with
be back.
Cooper. Yeah, and
But
then the
will he be
Bengals.
100%?
Bengals are interesting. So I have them. I have Steelers around third best at most. I
Third
still have them
best
behind.
with Ayuk on the roster?
Yeah, I think so. I
And
think they're.
where do you have him now where Ayuk's not on the roster?
Mm,
They're still fighting for third, I think.
yeah, I think it's between them and the Bengals. I didn't like the Bengals offseason.
Yeah, it
But
wasn't the greatest. I agree with that.
yeah,
And Burrow's coming off an injury. So
yeah.
we will see.
Steelers they're interesting. I could see them finishing
Yeah.
second too if the cards shake out right. But then they could also finish fourth. So I still think the Ravens are the top team.
Now the thing with that division, right? So we'll get to see it all unfold because it's going to be on Hard Knocks in season, the whole AFC North. So that's going to be
that's
some
great
good content to watch.
Yeah.
I think the Steelers, they're fighting there for that third spot because I feel like the Ravens, they're the top dog. They have to be after what they did this offseason, acquiring Derrick Henry. Like they're supposed to be that number one team in that division there. And then, the Browns from what they did a year ago with Joe Flacco. And now if you could get Deshaun Watson healthy, right, and they have a good supporting cast around them, they got a great defense. Like they should be the number two team. And now I think it's a fight for third between the Steelers and Bengals because, Joe Burrow, when healthy, he's one of the better quarterbacks in this league. And I think they could easily be the third spot. And what I've been hearing from Steelers camp is Russell Wilson hasn't been the greatest, and they might turn to Justin Fields. So we'll talk about that later in this episode. But I don't know. I think they could easily fight for the third spot if Ayuk is on the team. But I think I would give that spot right now to the Bengals if Ayuk's not on the team. So I think the Steelers would finish last in the division. And it's going to be a tight race.
That's
I
fair.
don't think they're going to be a bad team whatsoever. I think they could easily fight for, being 500, but it's going to be a really tight race with how good every roster is in that division. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's so tough to call. I feel like if you finish first, second, third in the AFC North, you'll make the playoffs. Just how the other conferences are, you just got the Chiefs, right? Houston will probably win the South. And then the AFC East, maybe you get two teams. Maybe you get Miami, Jets, or the Bills. Either one, two of the three, maybe. But I expect if you finish first, second, third in the AFC North, you should make the playoffs. Just how good those teams are.
Yeah, so I feel like, they could be in the running if they do make the trade and acquire Ayuk. But let's turn it over to some other drama. There was a trade this offseason, right? Joe Douglas and the Jets made a trade, went to go speak with his former friend there and Howie Roseman of the Eagles. And, hey, I want Hassan Reddick. We'll get him for a third conditional round pick. So that's what they did. And they haven't paid him yet. They acquired Hassan Reddick and have not extended the man. The reason why he wanted out of Philly is because he wanted to get paid. And that still has not happened yet. And he has now requested a trade as of yesterday. Hassan Reddick wants to be traded because he has still not been properly compensated. So I want to know who's in the wrong and whose side you're on here. Do you think the Jets are doing the right thing and are not paying this man right now? And do you think Hassan Reddick's doing the right thing and holding out and trying to get paid? What are your thoughts on this whole situation?
I can see both sides to it, but honestly, I feel like if he showed up to the meetings, to training camp, to OTAs, they could have worked through a contract because see how well he practiced, how he jives in with the locker room, and be like, this could be a guy that we could pay long term. We could give him a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year deal that he wants. But that didn't happen. I feel like I remember when they first traded to him from the Eagles. They had some talks. It was going the right way. But then Hassan, to this point, has never showed up. He only showed up once to like the introductory press conference, and he talked about like how he likes the organization and stuff, but he never showed up to any training camp or
Yeah.
anything, which is kind of funny. But yeah, it's tough, man. I do feel for the Jets. They haven't been relevant since Super Bowl III when the moon landing with Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, those guys when Apollo
That
11 went up in
before
this.
our time. Before our
Yeah,
time.
that back in those days, man. So I feel for the Jets, man. They can't. They make. I thought that was a good trade for him, and they just can't win for losing. Like I thought it was a pretty good trade, but man, it's also another thing for Howie Roseman too. He knew that he would probably hold out if they kept him, and they ended up basically getting a third round pick because he's not going to play for the Jets, so that's not going to become a second. But getting a third round pick for a guy that hasn't showed up to the other team's camp it's a win. It is a win there, but yeah, looking back at it, a good trade initially, but man, they didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming either. I thought he would show up, but yeah, he seems like he's more of a head case than I originally thought. But
Yeah.
I guess which side I'm on, I'm leaning towards the Jets. That they trusted him. They went out and made the deal with hopes to extend him, but they just couldn't come to terms with him not showing up. And they were negotiating initially, but they never got anything done there. And talks have kind of stalled. So, yeah, it's a tough situation, but I feel like the Jets did everything they could. And Hassan, to help his case, if he just showed up, he wouldn't be in this situation. Honestly, maybe they would have gotten paid. But even if you use that as a chip on your shoulder, you go out, you ball out, you get 11 plus sacks like you normally do. It might not be the Jets. They might not tag. They probably let you test free agency. Then you can get your due diligence. Then you can get what you're owed from somewhere else. Then you could choose where you want to go. So, yeah, I feel like just because of his uncomfortableness, like with the situation he is, the uncertainty of not getting what he wants. So he's a little bit ticked off by that, and he's just holding out. He doesn't want to participate. So it's rough. It is a rough situation.
I'm surprised that you're on the Jets side of this. I thought you'd be on the Hassan Reddick side of this thing because Hassan Reddick has been a really productive pass rusher in the past few years. I think in the last 4 years, I might be wrong, but I think he's been like top 5 in total sacks the last 5 years. So
That's true.
what
That's
when
right.
you get a guy that's that productive and you're trading for him, I would think that you would have to extend him for how productive he's been. Like, why are you trading for him? You only want him to be there for the short term? Like, once you want this guy in the building for the long term because of how
Mm,
productive he's been, he's stayed healthy. He's been a dog for the Eagles the past few years, and he's been what top 5 in sacks the past 4 years. So I feel like Hassan Reddick should be holding out because he wants to get paid and he deserves his money. And it's crazy because like why make this trade and you don't know why he's not showing up? It's because you haven't paid him yet.
mm.
That's the reason why he wasn't holding or showing up with the Eagles, right? That last few months there. That's the reason why he was holding out there, and he wanted an extension. And he made it clear. So like, what if the Jets? If I was the Jets, I would already know that I would have to extend him, and that's why I'm making this trade because I know I'm going to extend him, and I'm going to make him one of the highest paid because he's been productive, and the stats show it. So I'm just confused why you make this trade and you're surprised that he wants money because this is the last year on his contract. So that's why he's holding out because he wants to have security. He wants to have that guaranteed money. And he showed up each year and he's been a baller. And pretty sure, wasn't he the guy that hurt Brock Purdy and ruined that NFC Championship game for the Niners? He made an impact in that game, right? And he's
Yeah.
what got him to the Super Bowl. He was one of the reasons why the Eagles were a top team in sacks and were the most team in sacks that year. They went to the Super Bowl. Like he's been really good. And now you let Bryce Huff walk, right? So who are you relying on for your edge rushers? I don't know who they really have other than they have Quinnen Williams up the middle, because I know they also traded I think John Franklin Myers is his name. They got rid of him as well. So like they really don't have the pass rushers to be, holding out here and not paying Hassan Reddick. Like you made this move to be better. Well, if you want to be better, pay the man so he'll show up and he will make your team a competitor and a contender in the AFC. Like if you're trying to go all in with Aaron Rodgers, you need this guy on the defensive side of the ball. It's just crazy to me that they haven't paid this man yet, and I find it absurd. But I think Hassan Reddick is in the right here. He's been a guy that has been really productive and deserves his bag. So I'm just confused why the Jets pulled the trigger on the trade if they are not going to pay him. So that's my thoughts on the situation.
Mm. I just feel like he could be more of a team player in this. If I was his teammate, I'd be like, I haven't met the dude in person. He hasn't showed up. Do I really want him here? Is he? He's all about himself. This is just from an optics standpoint. Like maybe like a Sauce Gardner or someone on the defense is like, man, I get it. He's a good player, but man, he's not about the team. He's all about himself and all about getting his money. And I don't even know who he is. And even if we do pay him, we got a short time to ramp up and get him acclimated to everything. So it's tough. I can understand his point of view and everything, but I feel like if he was in the door and he was just showing up, then maybe they would open the Jets' eyes to, hey, let's get a deal done. Let's lock him in. But now that he's like holding out, it's like okay, maybe we did make a mistake trading for him because he isn't really a team player. And towards the end of the Eagles run, he was a little bit to himself. And Howie Roseman did see the writing on the wall. He would be doing this with us right now, so we got rid of him. So I feel like teams around the league are noticing him as a head case. You don't get rid of a guy that's top 5 in sacks, right? And he's been on 4 different teams now. So there's some character issues there, I think, with him. So you just don't get rid of a guy like that. But there's something there. But that's why I'm leaning towards the Jets side a little bit more than I am the Hassan side.
You bring up a good point. I understand that, but I feel like if Sauce Gardner was in that situation, like he's been productive as hell, right? And he only has 1 year left. He's going to be holding out too, and he's not going to be showing up either. And Hassan Reddick has not even met with the Jets, or the Jets haven't even tried to contact him about a contract situation. That's the report. They have not even tried to even attempt to extend the man. At least
right, but
try.
That's 2 different situations. He was just traded there, while Sauce Gardner, if he held out, I would understand it more from the player's point because he did everything for that organization and he was an all-pro player. So I would understand him holding out, and the teammates know him, the coaches know him, they know his intentions. And now from this point, you traded for a guy and it's like, I don't really care about you guys. I just want to get paid and then I'll ball out with you. So he's holding out for the sake of his own due diligence, his own bag, instead of being a team player and just, you know what, you might not get your contract right away, right when you want it, but if you show up and even if it goes in the regular season and you are productive, you'll give the Jets no choice but to extend you at that point. That's where I'm coming from. And I feel like the Sauce Gardner point you make is a little bit different since he got drafted there. He's grown and he's molded into a top corner. So it's different situations there.
Well, I feel like Joe Douglas should have known that when trading for a guy, obviously he wants to get paid. Like, look what the Giants did with Brian Burns, right? They wanted Brian Burns in the building, and they traded for him, and they extended him right away, right? Because they wanted that guy to be there long term. If you didn't want this guy to be there long term, you should have talked to his agents or himself and say, we don't know if we want to keep you here long term before trading for you. Like, why pull the trigger if you know the reason why he's not shown up to the Eagles camp is because he just doesn't want to be there and he wants to get paid? right? He wants to get paid and get extended because he's been productive. So I just don't understand why Joe Douglas doesn't understand why Hassan Reddick isn't showing up, because he didn't show up for the Eagles at the end of that run with the Eagles, and now he's not showing up because it's for the same reason. He wants to get paid. It just baffles me that Joe Douglas doesn't understand that. So
Yeah, Brian Burns did want to get paid by Carolina, but the thing is with Burns, he did show up and he did play for them too. Like he just got traded. He's not even participating in practice. So it's like I think they didn't extend him right away because I think they wanted to see what he is around the teammates, because he has hopped team to team, and with Brian Burns, it's just been the Panthers. Now it's with New York. So I feel like there's a more character questions with Hassan Reddick. So
okay.
I feel like if they got him in and they saw how he meshed with the locker room and everything, then they would have extended him. That's my
Yeah,
thoughts.
you bring up good points. I just want to know in the comments what you guys think about this situation. Who you think's in the right, who's in the wrong, and let us know down in the comment section down below. But let's move on to the next topic here. So
So
there's been a lot of injury bugs lately in training camp, and we got to bring you all the updates about it. So Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs, star running back, sophomore running back for the Detroit Lions. He's supposed to have a hell of a productive year after last year, almost going to Super Bowl with the Lions, just lost an NFC Championship game. Jahmyr Gibbs went down yesterday or today, I forget what day it was, with a hamstring injury. And then want to talk about that for a little bit. He's supposed to be one of their most productive players on the offensive side of the ball. And, just losing a man like that kind of hurts your offense because he's supposed to be one of your focal points, along with, Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta. But, he's supposed to be the guy in the backfield. I know they got Montgomery, but he's supposed to be the lead back in that backfield. What do you think about that situation there?
yeah, it is a big loss because he's more of a dynamic running back than David Montgomery. David Montgomery is a between the tackles kind of guy, where Jahmyr Gibbs is more like outside zone runs, getting on the perimeter and flying past guys, excuse me, and being more dynamic of a player in the passing game too. So he adds another element they have to account for. So yeah, it will make their run game a little bit more one dimensional, and the pass game they can hone in on Laporta and Amon-Ra a little bit more. They have more eyes on those two now with him gone, because they know Montgomery's not he's adequate, I guess, in the passing game. I get you can check it down to him, but he's not as dynamic. He's not going out running like a wheel route, or you can motion him out to like the slot or something to win a route against a linebacker that Jahmyr Gibbs can. So it makes their offense not as dynamic. So it would set the offense back a little bit. Even though I think Ben Johnson's a great play caller and they'll work through that loss. But yeah, that I don't know what the timeline is yet. Maybe you do, but hopefully they get him back for their sake week 1. Even if you have to sit him for the rest of the preseason, just make sure he's 100% week 1.
Yeah, I don't think the timeline came out for that just yet, but yeah, prayers up for him. Hopefully he heals up, and we want to see him week 1 because he's one of them top backs in the league, and he showed up last year, and he was a bowler. Let's talk about
Absolutely.
it. Let's talk about the next player, Mr. Malik Neighbors, Giants rookie phenom, receiver, supposed to be that alpha, that dog, right? Yeah, he just went down the other day with an
hype him
ankle.
up.
Yeah, you got to
guy.
hype him up. He's supposed to be that guy. He's supposed to be that number one and the best thing ever since Odell Beckham Jr. But yeah, he went down yesterday with an ankle, but luckily it's not that bad. It's a mild ankle sprain, and he's day to day, and he'll definitely be fine and should be good to go for week 1. Do you think the Giants should hold him out until week 1? Because he's been balling already in joint practices against the Lions. And we've seen enough. He didn't really do much in that first preseason game, but he played some 12 snaps and got 0 targets, which was absurd. But, yeah, do you think he should actually get more time if he's healthy, or just, shut him down until week 1?
It's tricky because I feel like just from a standpoint of getting a rapport of the offense, getting used to Brian Dable's offense, and building a rapport with Daniel Jones, building a chemistry. It is pretty vital for him to play in the preseason, but at the same time, if his ankle's still not 100%, you can't risk it because I believe Malik Neighbors is bringing the excitement back to the Giants organization, right? You lose Saquon, right? The fan favorite there, and you replace him with Malik Neighbors, and him balling out is building that excitement back again, right? You're looking like a dynamic playmaker on the outside that they haven't had since Odell, like you pointed out. So from that point, if you risk it and he goes down with an injury, then it does ruin your chances of getting a look at Daniel Jones, seeing if he is your guy, because you haven't had a receiver as talented as Neighbors with Daniel Jones. So then Daniel Jones in this instance will have another excuse, like, oh, I didn't have a dynamic playmaker to throw the ball to on the outside. So if you want to get the best look of Daniel Jones and know which way to pivot from a quarterback room, you got to hold him out if he can't go. If his ankle's 100% and he's fine, I would play him. But if it's just a lingering injury and an injury that could get worse if he played and he hurt it even worse and it trickles into the regular season, then don't play him and give him some practice reps when he's good to go and play in week 1. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I think Malik Neighbors, he should play that third preseason game. He's probably not going to be ready for this next one, the second game. Play him the third game if he's day-to-day and it's not lingering. And I would shut him down for that last game because usually none of the starters really play that last preseason game. So, yeah, I just want to see him get some live reps. Jones week 3 in the preseason. I feel like that should be good enough for Brian Dable and the offense. You're gonna get to see a quick little look of Malik Neighbors and live reps with Daniel Jones, and you should be good to go because he's been performing so far here in training camp in the joint practices with the Lions. So, yeah, that's what I would do.
And plus, if you have another joint practice coming up, you would know better if I do. If you do have another one, maybe you do. They treat those like game reps. They treat it, some coaches treat that more important as a preseason game. So as long as you have him for that and you're going up against number ones that have good corners that are another test for Neighbors, and those guys on the other team might not play him in the preseason game at all to preserve him for the regular season. Though that's more meaningful in a sense too, if you have him for those reps and just hold him out of the preseason altogether if you're getting another joint practice or around the corner. So if not, then I would play him for another preseason game, like you said.
All right. Let's try and wrap up this segment real quick. We'll do like one more injury bug player here.
Sure.
Let's talk about the one that happened today, JJ McCarthy. So he tore his meniscus, and he was on pace to potentially start week 1, but now that's not going to happen. He just tore his meniscus in practice today, and now it has been announced that Sam Darnold will be the week 1 starter because JJ McCarthy will not be ready by week 1. That is some, tough news for, the Vikings and a guy that they took in the first round. I believe he was a top 10 pick, or he would have been 11. It was either 10 or 11. I forget.
Yeah, it's around 10.
It might have been 11. I think it was 11. But yeah, JJ McCarthy, he's looked good. Saw some great, highlights this past weekend in preseason, had a nice deep. And I think, this kind of hurts. But, he gets to learn more of the offense and, sit down and get a time to adjust to it. And, yeah, watch Sam Darnold and, be in Sam Darnold's ear the first few weeks and, just learn and be like a sponge and grow. And I think eventually he'll be back. And when he's fully healthy, I think he's going to take over for Sam Darnold because I don't think Sam Darnold's the greatest quarterback. And, we'll see because now he's finally got a good supporting cast. Sam Darnold, he's got Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson,
Aaron Jones now.
Aaron Jones now. Yeah, that's who they got.
Even though they're splitting carries now with I forget the other running back they had. Tyson Chandler or not Tyson Chandler. Something like something like that. I forget who they're splitting carries
Yeah,
to.
because
But
Madison's on the Raiders now. So I feel like, yeah, Sam Darnold, he's got an opportunity here. Let's see if he can actually do something with it, but I doubt it. But yeah, I think JJ McCarthy, it's not a good thing that he got hurt, but he can learn that the offense and absorb it like a sponge and, just sit there and learn and sit in those meetings with Kevin O'Connell and the quarterback room and actually have time to, learn the whole NFL offense and take time to adapt to it. So, all in all,
yeah.
it sucks, but I think he'll be just fine. And it's a meniscus, so they're not awful injuries. So I think he'll be just fine.
He will be just fine. He's gonna recover. Like the medicine nowadays, like the procedures they do for surgeries, he'll come back with a brand new knee, new meniscus. So I'm not concerned about that. And honestly, I'm firmly a believer that everything happens for a reason. Like you said, this could be a good opportunity for him to learn and watch Sam Darnold, have the headset on, listen to the plays that Kevin O'Connell's calling in, and really get to break down film and learn from Sam Darnold. Even give your own insight to help the team, help him become a better quarterback too, because you are a national champion. So that holds some water too. You know what you're doing from a quarterback standpoint, also. So yeah, just learn the NFL game. It'll help him actually. Look at what Mahomes is doing. Not calling him Mahomes. Mahomes is once in a
Yeah.
generation
Don't call him
quarterback.
Mahomes. Yeah.
But
I know.
My point is Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith, and I feel like that paid dividends as well. Learning from a veteran, learning how he commands an offense, how he prepares. That helped Mahomes. He even mentioned that before too in interviews. So it could be a blessing in disguise.
Totally agree. I think he's gonna be just fine, and yeah, just learn the NFL way of doing things. So yeah, let's talk about preseason rookie quarterbacks. So if you watched any games, I didn't watch them all. I didn't watch them all like really close or anything. But out of the highlights you saw, right, who looked
Mm-hmm.
the best? For me, I'll go first. I think Caleb Williams, from what I saw, he looked really good. He was commanding the offense. DJ Moore was really impressed with Caleb Williams and said he looked, I forget the word. I'm going to just say it was like spectacular and like really impressed himself during his debut. And I saw this one throw. He was rolling out to his right. He did a little pump fake, drew in the defender, and then passed it to Cole Kmet. So that's not a rookie quarterback move, and that's something that's cool to see out of the number one overall pick in Caleb Williams. That's what you kind of expect with him. He has a lot of pressure on him, and I think he's only gonna grow and get better. I really do think he will be fine with this offense. He's got lots of weapons around him. The Bears did a great job of surrounding him with talent. And I think from what I saw on social media and, all the highlights and all that, I think Caleb Williams proved that he's going to be fine, just fine. He's going to be the number one overall pick. And I watched Hard Knocks last week, right? He was struggling in practice, and he's going to struggle. It's a rookie quarterback. You're always going to struggle that rookie year adapting to, the NFL offense and just looking at all the different coverages and learning all the schemes within the offense. It's going to take some time to adjust, but from like throws and just, the arm talent, I think Caleb Williams, from what I saw, looked the best out there this past weekend.
No, that's a fair point too. And there was another impressive throw where the Bills got pressure on him. I think he was almost being brought down for a sack, and then he just flung the ball out to
I
DeAndre
did see
Swift.
that too.
And he went for it was a screen play, designed screen, but he did everything right. He kept everyone in check. He manipulated the pocket and deceived the defense with his eyes, with his movement in the pocket, and then he just flung it out to the right receiver to the sign play for DeAndre Swift to go off on that screen for 70 yards. So yeah, he's as advertised. He can make every throw in the book. Honestly, Bo Nix was a bit of a surprise for me. Just the way how Sean Payton adapted the offense to fit his style, fit how he plays. And he also did that for Jarrett Stidham too, and the other quarterbacks that played. And yeah, he made some good throws. I felt like I was impressed. I did not expect that from him. But honestly, I think my most impressive was Jaden Daniels. I think if he's as advertised, the Commanders should make some noise in the NFC East. Not going to say if they're going to win it or not. Stay tuned. That'll be another video. But man, he threw a nice over the shoulder dime. I forget to who it was, but just a beautiful
I
ball,
saw it.
beautiful throw, and just the way he's so dynamic with running the ball too. And I believe I don't know if he ran it in for a touchdown or he scrambled right. He either threw it to someone or he scrambled in for the touchdown. So against a good Jets defense, I don't know if the Jets played their ones. They're the number one defense that game. That's respectable. But overall, impressive performance, and I can't wait to see what he does. So Jaden Daniels is my answer.
Yeah, all the quarterbacks, they all pretty much performed. I think what we're going to do here, instead of talking about who's going to win the Steelers quarterback competition, that's going to be on the next episode. We are going to end episode 50 off here, and we're going to talk about who wins the Steeler quarterback competition on the next episode. So look out for that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to see if we could get more information about that and, present that to you guys next week. So be on the lookout for that. Sorry, Steelers fans, we couldn't really talk about that today. We're running short on time here. But if you guys did want to see more content here on the channel, drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. We would really appreciate it. Go follow our socials. We got a link tree down below. And yeah, old people, we appreciate you. We love you. Make sure to, follow us on YouTube because that's where this video is. And if you're not on YouTube, you're on Spotify right now, or you're on Apple Podcasts. So go check us out. We're on multiple platforms, and you can see all that in the link tree down below. Any final thoughts, Justin?
No, thank you for tuning into episode 50. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's been a fun ride. So I want to thank Steve for bringing me on. It's been a lot of fun, and cheers to many more episodes, my brother.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, that's all we have for you guys today. BenchWire.
Out.